like a more sit down chill video. I was gonna script this a little bit more so that it would have a little bit more of a flow, but then I was like, do you know what, let me just throw the camera on, let's get filming. Today's Monday, I'm gonna throw this up tomorrow. And yeah, I just thought, let me just sit down and chat to you guys. I received a comment the other day and it made me realize that maybe like I hadn't like sat down and really chilled with you guys and spoken to you properly. And I think there are times in vlogs where I get the opportunity to, but if you guys don't know, like I'm actually really guarded. Like any of my friends probably wouldn't think that, because with my friends I'm very open. Like I'm a very open book, they know most things about me, but I do feel like I'm very conscious of oversharing. And I think on the internet people overshare all the bloody time, and it is quite funny because I am on social media, I am on the internet, but I'm actually inherently like a very private person, so it's a little bit of a clash there at times. But nevertheless, I wanted to sit down and film like a little bit more of a open and chatty video and chat to you guys. I want to talk a little bit more about 2024, where my head's at, and some of the things that I'm going to be focusing on and things I've learned in the last couple of years. I guess in order to talk about 2024 and where I am at now, we kind of have to track back a little bit. So 2020, obviously, I was furloughed. I used that time to basically get really, really stringent with my money, because obviously I was not going out, I was not spending as much money because we were at home, and I was in my head at the time, I knew I was gearing up to get on the property ladder. So I used that time to really go through, fine tooth all like my finances, every outgoing possible, and I also used that time to clear any existing debts that I had, like on a credit. I think I only had one credit card at the time and like one line of credit open, because like by this point, like when I first moved into my flat, for instance, I put things on credit to A, build my credit rating, and B, which should be A, is I couldn't afford it. So I couldn't afford my carpet, I couldn't afford my sofa, so I put it on credit. But anyway, that's another story for another day. So yeah, 2020, I used that time to basically clear my debts and just prepare myself, I guess, for you know, making that jump and transition from being a renter to a homeowner. I think looking back, the only thing that I would do differently is during like the time when I was furloughed, I think I used social media as like a mad coping mechanism, and so I threw myself into it, and I was doing like 3-4 uploads a week, I want to say, which in hindsight, like I should have just relaxed a little bit more. Like I should have really developed like a, you know, a good wellness routine, as opposed to just like throwing myself into creating content. But at the same time, I'm kind of glad that I did, because to, you know, work to a standard where you're putting up 3 to 4 videos a week, like that requires an insane level of like productivity and organization. So it's good, it's helped me, because now that I am back down to like 1, maybe 2 videos a week, it's like I know and I have the capacity and the discipline to do more. So I'm not mad at myself, but now in hindsight, when I look back, I realised that maybe it was a little bit of a coping mechanism, like the world was just like crazy and still is. And I think I was using social media to kind of like pacify me in a way. But anyway, that's 2020. So 2021, I go back to the office. I noticed that they were a little bit slow in like bringing everybody back, like the entire workforce, which kind of like, you know, that raised my antennas a little bit. I was like, oh, okay, you lot are a bit slow bringing people back. Well, you need to bring me back, because I'm trying to get on the property ladder like right now. So there's that. So I went back to the office like early 2021, I want to say, and then I put through some paperwork to start buying my property. Also in 2021, the process took a really long time. The reason, like one of the reasons why is also like I did delay it myself. I was initially going to buy with my partner, but as you guys know, I worked in property, right? And there were some occasions where like we'd put a property on, and then like less than 6 months later, less than a year later, people are coming back and I'm selling it again. And my manager's like, oh, Rack, just use the original photos. And I'm like, raw, like what happened? Like we just sold this, like what's going on? It's like, you know, couples or divorces. And look, don't get me wrong, there are instances where you know, it makes sense to keep it, and you know, you don't have to buy the other person out, you don't have to put the property on the market and stuff, etc, etc. Either way, in my head, I said, Mikia Butter. There's absolutely no way that I would overexpose myself in that way. And like, if we were to buy together and we were to split, God forbid, it wouldn't be easy for me to buy my partner out. Like, I'd have to sell in order to do that. And I don't want to sell. So I just said, you know what? Let me just cut the headache from here. Let me just get this one myself. And obviously, as you guys know, like, I was raised like by a single parent, fiercely independent. Like, my mum's one of six girls, so it's just like, and I've got bare girl cousins. Like, we're all very like independent. We all have that, like, you know, streak from our grandma. So yeah, something was like, okay, you know what, just get it yourself. If you can do it, you can do it. So that, I think, also added, in fact, I know, like, it added a good 3-4 months onto the process, because that was something that I decided to change. So that's 2021. I want to say towards the end of 2021 as well, this is a quite important point to note as well. Towards the end of 2021, they had merged my role at work. So there was a situation where I was working on one side of the business, supporting one side of the business, but there was another side of the business, they had merged it, and they said, okay, we're going to take a portion of that job and we're going to send it to head office for head office to do, a new team in head office, but there's going to be a portion of that work that is still here for you to do in branch, in the office. I said, okay, cool. They said it's about a third of the role, like about a third. I said, okay, cool. So what's a third of her salary then? Because, and not to mention, the girl who they were replacing, like, they were getting rid of her job, like, that was my close friend at work as well. So there's like, you really done screwed me there, because this girl, we could talk without even talking. So like, I would just look at her, she would just look at me, and we'd be like, later, we'll talk. Like, that was my close friend at work. So aside from that, like, you know, emotional, like, friendship situation, like, going, and like, obviously work being a little bit less, like, you don't have your person, you know, I had asked, like, what's a third of the salary? And they were like, oh, you know, we're not going to give you a third, we're only going to give you this amount. Cut a very long story short, for me, it didn't work out money-wise. Like, I didn't end up getting paid much more each month, considering, like, you know, the cost of inflation, etc., cost of living, etc., etc. You know, for the extra work, I wasn't paid properly, in my opinion. So I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. But at this point, I've already put my paperwork in to buy my property, so I'm just sitting there, like, smiling, like, okay, cool. Fine. So we roll into Q3 of 2022, and I had come across on the internet at work, like, an application for flexible working. So I'm like, okay, cool, like, I'm going to put in this application, like, we're going to see what they say. Like, I was very, very flexible with them on it. I was like, look, I don't have to work every single day from home. It can be 1 day a week, 2 days a week. It can be dependent on the diary. It can be dependent on the team, like, whatever's going on. I'm very flexible. Like, even if you guys call me on the day when we're like, okay, this was a day for you to work from home, but can you come in? Like, cool, whatever. Like, I don't really, like, mind. Like, but what I do know is that for me to be based in the office Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, 9 to 6 is very draconian, and I just don't need it. So I'd come across this form on the internet, so I applied, went through the whole rigmarole of it, sat down, etc., etc. And the thing is, like, I'm not shy, like, I'm not backwards in coming forwards, yeah? So when it came to negotiating that, I'm like, oh, okay, so verbatim, like, this comes down to whether you want to retain your good staff. At this point, I'd been there for 10 years, right? 10 years I've been there. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I've proven my worth. Like, I've come in every day. I've done a good job every day. Like, this is what I need for me to get to year 11. Because if I don't get this, there is no, oh, you've been here for 11 years, congratulations. Like, no, it's... So I was very, very, very clear about it. So anyway, I went for the rigmarole. It ended up getting denied, which I was just like, you lot don't even understand the stresses that I'm under trying to get my mortgage over the line. Like, I could have saved my whole breath, saved everything. Because, you know, when you go into these meetings, yeah, like, I'm a very off-the-cuff type person, but you do still, like, you're sitting down with directors and stuff, so you do need to prep. Like, you can't be in there looking silly. Like, you can't be in there, like, not knowing what you're going to say, etc., etc. So I was sitting there, I was like, you lot really came and teethed out my mental dexterity that I could have used to apply pressure for my mortgage. But anyway, they denied it. I'm like, okay, cool. But at this point, mortgage application's still going through. I don't really care to rock the boat. I'm like, okay, cool. I think a couple months after that, I completed on my property. So I was like, oh, okay. The things are starting to look a little different now, because, like, okay, you're not going to do the flexible working. It's going to come down to whether I think this is the right salary for me to be in the office. Is this the right office for me to, like, if you're gonna, as a workforce, you know, insist that everybody's in every day, like is the cleaner in every day, like things like this. So anyway, so yeah, Q3 2022, completing my property. I started the whole project management home reno thing, which was just like next level. Like by God's grace, we're here, we got there in the end. But that was a project and a half, like honestly, to the point where I like broke down over a toilet. Like my builder left the house. If you guys haven't seen the home reno series, you have to watch it. But my builder just came back with a toilet because I was about to cry because I'd ordered 3 toilets and none of them worked, and I was just like, rah. So anyway, started like the whole home reno thing, and obviously that's very costly as well. And yeah, got to sort of like January, February, March time and handed my notice in at work because, if I'm really honest, to cut a very long story short, it just came down to, I have to be aware of, like, if I'm going to be office based Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, 9 to 6, this is a salary that I want and these are the benefits from the company that I want. And the boxes weren't being ticked, it wasn't adding up. And for a long time, I knew that my goal was to get on the property ladder, and it made sense. And it was a means to an end, and it definitely helped me to achieve what I've got. But I wasn't learning anything new, there was no room to progress there. And I think for me, the final straw was like, you know, no flexible working. I just thought it's very draconian. I'd been there for 10 years. I think when I first joined 10 years ago, what they were offering was about in line with what other people were offering, but the job market has changed, right? Things have changed, the demographic has changed, the culture has changed, everything is different. So I was like, okay, cool. Decided to take a break. So I'm on that break now, right? I decided, okay, I'm gonna take a certain amount of time out of corporate work. And that's just because, like I said, there was nothing new going on, and I just felt like my company was getting a way better return on investment out of me. Like I had 10 years experience, right? And you know, the fact that they couldn't grant the flexible working was just like, yeah, nil pois. So that was all then. That is all then. That took me to 2023. So I'm not entirely sure how I've been able to forget this entire part, but after leaving, I did a lot of traveling. This reminds me that I need to edit a Miami vlog. I have a whole Miami vlog, which is probably going to be about an hour long. These are clips from the Miami vlog, but I was really fortunate enough to go to the south of France. I went to Paris, I went to Antigua, I went to New York, I went to Atlanta, and also last stop was Miami. I do have a travel vlog up on the channel for all of the destinations that I just mentioned. It's just that my Miami vlog is the last one to come up, so I will be editing that, and I promise I'm going to get it up. But I really enjoyed my traveling. Like I had lived off of 20 or 25 days annual leave for, you know, the better part of 10 to like 15 years. And it was so lovely being able to travel a little bit more at my leisure and not have to rush to get back. And I really, really enjoyed it. I really did. I had a great time. And now 2024, here we are. So 2024, as mentioned, I'm just like on a break from the corporate world. And that's not to say that I've turned my back on it. Like I decided to take a certain amount of time out, right? And I do still keep an eye on like jobs. I do still keep an eye on like the property market and things like that. And I think once it comes to a point where I'm ready to start going back into work and, you know, that sort of thing, I can assess it and I can play it by ear as to whether I would go back into property, or maybe I would try a different field, or maybe I'd try something else. But at the moment, obviously, I do my social media, which I love. I love creating content so much. Like I love to try out new beauty products, I love to try out new skincare products, I love my fashion, as you guys know. And something new that I'm kind of trialing out a little bit more, and you guys will see it here on shorts as well as on TikTok mainly, is like talking think pieces, right? Let's talk about money, let's talk about, you know, buying as a self-employed person versus an employee. Let's talk about like just like manifestation and glowing up and self-care and those sorts of things. And I'm really, really enjoying consuming that type of content, and I really, really enjoy creating that kind of content. So I'm slowly like weaving that in, and I'm really, really enjoying it. And then as well as that, like I do pick up like gigs here and there, like part-time bits and bobs here and there. So I do virtual assistant or like EA, PA work. And at one point I had quite a few clients, but then I realized it wasn't really like the one to have like multiple clients. So I decided to like kind of scale that back and rejig it. So that's another little thing that I'm doing at the moment, just because I think I spoke about this in one of my vlogs, but one of my core competencies is like PA, EA, organizational stuff. Like my old job, I was a office manager, office coordinator. So because I have that skill, I thought to myself, I don't want to, like, just because I'm not working full time Monday to Friday in an office, like I don't want to negate the experience that I have in that, because like that is actually a skill. And some people, I don't know if that's me maybe downplaying, and I shouldn't downplay, but some people aren't organized. Like some people, if you're the person in your friendship group that arranges the dinners, the holidays, the itineraries when you go on holiday, like that's a skill and you can get paid for that skill. So I was like, you know, if I have the opportunity to do that on a more flexible basis, I'm going to do that on a flexible basis. So I do that at the moment as well, which is really nice. It's like nice to kind of keep one foot in the employee and like corporate-ish world, because it's not so corporate the way that I do it. But anyway, that's another story. So 2024, I guess some of the things that I wrote them down actually just to talk about them very quickly. And I hope this video is not like random and not like just a load of word vomit, but it kind of is. Some of the things I have been thinking about for 2024 and some of the things that I'm going to be implementing in 2024. Number one is discipline. I think because for such a long time I was governed by my job, and yeah, look, we can all say that we're independent people, etc, etc. However, like when you're Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, 9 to 6, like that forms the core part of your day. And I think once that was taken away from me, I'm going to be really honest with you, that transition from being employed to being self-employed was a transition. Like it was a little bit of a journey, and I have worked every day like since I was 16. Like I started working at 16, but when I left school at 18 I worked solidly right through. So that has been like my identity in a way. Like as much as I want to say that I'm an independent person and a forward thinker, etc, etc, like no, that has been, you know, if I have to be in the office by 9-ish, because your girl was not you know, that Cat Williams is like, I know I'm gonna be there, they know I'm gonna be there, when I'm there I'm gonna do the best job. That was me. So I was not really in for 9, but anyway, that's another story for another time. But yeah, if you know you've got to be in for that time, obviously everything you're doing is around that, and that's the largest part of your day. So like making that adjustment, you might think that you're disciplined and that you've got a routine, but really your job is holding you accountable. So that transition from, you know, working in an office to being self-employed and how that looks has been a learning curve. I feel like I've got the hang of it now, which is great. But implementing discipline for 2024 in all areas, not just like, not just routines and things like that, but just, yeah, implementing discipline is just like top priority in terms of gym, routines, food, habits, and implementing discipline in terms of like wellness. Like, am I getting my steps in? Am I, you know, getting fresh air? That sort of thing. So implementing discipline. The second thing that I wrote down here is establishing new routines. So as I touched on, like making that transition from being office-based to now being self-employed, like I had to kind of establish like new daily routines, new weekly routines and stuff like that. The thing that's nice about it is that I am able to kind of somewhat have a weekend, because obviously when I was working full time, I was also putting out a lot of content, and I was working 7 days a week for probably like 5 years, 5-6 years, and I always knew emotionally and mentally and physically that it wouldn't be sustainable to hold down a full-time job as well as put out as much content as I do. I always knew there was going to be a breaking point, but I had a plan, right? I always knew that it wasn't sustainable. So now with that, it's like establishing new routines is key, because I have more time than what I've had previously. Before, it was like, I'm filming on this day because this is the only hour that I have this week to film, whereas now it's different. So it's a new routine. It's like, and I've really like now, like 3 weeks into January 2024, like I feel like I've really got my new routine down, and I'm really enjoying it. But it still doesn't mean that I have every routine down. Like, I want to establish a bit more of a better wellness routine, lifestyle, like healthy lifestyle routine. I want to like really deep dive into that and see how I can improve that and establish that routine a little bit better as well. The other thing that I wrote down here is being acutely aware of my worth and acting in accordance with that. And I think leaving my job was the first step of that, just because if I am to be in the corporate world, like, I know that I, you know, like I said, my company was getting a great, if I may say so myself, I think they were getting great return on investment from me. And, you know, it was just about me being cognizant of the fact that, like, if you stay somewhere where you are undervalued, right? Or, and I'm not to say like it was hell going, no, it wasn't hell, but it's like I was undervalued. That's just a fact. And if you stay in an environment where you're undervalued, not just a work environment, like any environment, like the way that your brain works and is susceptible, like it permeates into your brain, and then you start to think, oh, maybe I am only good enough to do this. Maybe I am only good enough to do that. Like, so all that to say, like, I am acutely aware of my worth, right? And I need to, in everything that I do, whether it's negotiating content deals, whether it's saying no to certain things, whether it's saying no to certain, just establishing boundaries, like, it needs to be something that I act with and move like I got sense and know what my self-worth is, if that makes sense. I really hope it does. I feel like I'm just like very rambling, and I don't feel like I've done a sit down video like this where I've just like been spitting truths. But yeah, that's one of the main things that I'm remaining like paramount to everything that I do in 2024. I've got to know my worth, and I've got to move like I know my worth. Do you get what I mean? And I feel like if any of you are in positions where you're like unsure, just know that the longer you sit there and downplay your worth, you're gonna start to move like somebody that ain't worth nothing, that ain't worth shit. So you gotta boss up and start moving like you worth something. So that's one of the things that I wrote down. That's probably at the top of my list for 2024, if I'm honest. And then I would say, similarly to that, for 2024, like, I want to start working on my mindset, right? And I want to start working on like an abundance mindset, energy, shadow work, all of that sort of thing. Because like I was saying, if you sit down and you start to, like, if you sit in a place where you're not supposed to be for too long, yeah, and you downplay yourself, you will remain there. Like, you won't come up, you won't get out, you'll just start to genuinely believe, oh, I ain't shit, like, I'm just supposed to know. So I really, really want to work on my mindset. And I think oftentimes for me, I have attached myself to negative things. So if something doesn't work out or whatever, I'm like, oh, you know, like, I get stressed about it, da, 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 da. But it's like, I actually have to flip it and say, like, maybe that didn't work out because it wasn't supposed to work out, because of course God has a better plan for me, or whoever it is, whether it's God, whether it's a higher power, whether it's energy, whether it's alignments, shaka, whatever it is, yeah, maybe there's something better for me. And I think too often, if something doesn't work out, like, I attach myself to the negativity in that as opposed to seeing the positivity. Like, another example, getting up and going to the gym. Instead of I've got to go to the gym, it's like, wow, I get to go up and walk to the gym. I get to go up and like go to the gym today. Like, wow, I can afford a gym membership. I have a gym. I have a gym class that I like. Like, it's just like about flipping that mindset and attaching myself to the positive things in life more so than the negative things. And that is one thing that for 2024 I really, really, really want to get myself aligned with. Those are the only things I actually wrote down to discuss in this video. I think I'm gonna end this video here, and I'm so sorry if it's so random, and yeah, but I just wanted to catch you guys up because I think, as I said, I think I catch you guys up little bits here and there in vlogs, and it's a little bit difficult for me to like sit down and just be like super open like this because I am quite private, but I am going to try my best to be a little bit more open. And I just feel like sometimes what I've found is a lot of people are going through the same stuff. Like, a lot of people, like a lot of my friends, in fact, are like on the same wavelength as this. Obviously, like, I get it because we're friends, so we're similar people, I guess, or like similar vibes. But a lot of people are going through like the same sort of similar stuff. So I wanted to sit down and like talk to you guys about it. So yeah, that was it from me. Little life update, little where's my head at, where am I, you know, what am I thinking about for 2024? If you have anything that you're focusing on for 2024, please comment it, let me know. Let me know if you guys want to see more videos like this. Let me know if I made sense in this video, because I really feel like I'm just FaceTiming and I really but nobody's responding. So let me know if this made sense to you guys. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Make sure you're following me on my TikTok, my Instagram. They're both linked in the description box always. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Mwah. Bye.